Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we return to covering one of the worst and most social justice warrior driven YouTube channels out there, AJ+. And if you guys were wondering how their videos and business stay afloat despite them getting terrible ratings and views, well, that's pretty easy to explain actually. As it's listed as a public notification under all their videos, Al Jazeera is funded in whole or in part by the Qatari government. That's right, this is state-run, pro-progressive, pro-SJW Muslim propaganda at its worst. This shit also gets backed by everyone and their mother in the mainstream media in America too, since the liberals are apparently trying to be down with the Muslims now. And in case you were doubting the wokeness of AJ+, here's the title and premise for their new video. Is milk only for white people? That's right, they're taking a 4chan joke meme and they're taking it seriously and calling all whites racist because of this. Classic AJ+. Well, I guess we should check out their video anyway, I suppose, and see what these SJW stooges have to say for themselves.
This is me on the verge of something explosive.
It's not comfortable.
And this is me observing white supremacists on YouTube. What do seriously painful indigestion and white supremacists have in common? Milk. Let me explain. My name's Yara, and I'm lactose intolerant, which basically means dairy products screw me up.
Oh, milk.
Okay, slow down there, kid. As if this video's style and presentation isn't cringy enough, you're also just straight up lying and misrepresenting in the first 20 seconds here. This wannabe Aladdin kid said he was watching white supremacists here for some reason, but then the people he was watching just said, I can drink milk and you can't, which is actually true since this AJ+ guy just said he was lactose intolerant. And since I'm familiar with this event that's in the clip shown here, I know for a fact this wasn't some kind of white supremacist KKK rally like what's implied here. Even AJ+ labels the clip as being from the He Will Not Divide Us event, which is really old news by the way. He Will Not Divide Us happened over 2 years ago in January 2017, but for some reason this AJ+ Aladdin kid is still talking about it and thinks it's relevant, and he's even mislabeling the people at the event for no reason. Why would he want to do this? Well, they want to cover white supremacy clearly, and since that's not really relevant or being pushed or rallied for seriously, well, the SJWs then have to dig back into events from years ago, sometimes that are not even related. And this is the same thing they do with the Charlottesville Unite the Right rally too. But in today's case, with the He Will Not Divide Us event, the one that was spearheaded by the actor Shia LaBeouf, who basically broke down because Trump won the election, well, AJ+ referencing this event here now, they really have no excuse to label those people as white supremacists that were there. He Will Not Divide Us was a live stream, a publicity stunt designed to be anti-Trump. And sure, trolls and memesters started showing up to make a joke of the whole thing, but there was no legitimate white supremacists there that I know of. It was a 20-hour live stream in New York City though that lasted many days, so that's definitely possible, but I would have to see a lot more proof than just some guys drinking milk with their shirts off, like what's shown in this AJ+ video. Showing that doesn't make these people white supremacists, and him saying I can drink milk and you can't doesn't either. Never mind the fact that this is a true statement and the discount Aladdin guy already admitted he can't drink milk. But also, in addition to that, this meme, this milk meme, like all good jokes, well, it comes from some truth. The best comedy is based on reality, at least in part. And with this milk meme in question here, you'll find the same situation. You see, it's pretty common knowledge that white, Caucasian, and American and European peoples, we drink lots more milk than the other races. Not only that, or perhaps because of that, whites are also much less lactose intolerant on average. For example, according to research, 90% of China's population is allergic to lactose, and their population is 1.3 billion people, mind you. And then back to the United States, and well, lactose intolerance varies by race, with about 74% of African Americans being lactose intolerant, 87% of Indians, and only 14% of Caucasians having some kind of lactose allergy. So yeah, when people bring out that milk meme, it actually is based on these facts. It's based on reality and truth. White people tend to be less lactose intolerant on average. And sure, this whole thing is being said as a goof or joke here at He Would Not Divide Us, but it's certainly not automatically making these people racist or white supremacists, like what AJ+ is suggesting and promoting here.
So avoiding them is actually a pretty big part of my life.
Relief from dairy.
We're eating dairy-free milk. I'm lactose intolerant, and I'm eating this stuff.
But believe it or not, people like me are actually in the majority. 65% of the world's adult population is lactose intolerant to some extent. That's most of Earth.
Yeah, we all know this, dude. What are they teaching you kids at your Qatari high schools anyway? I thought it was pretty common knowledge that most people in the world can't drink much milk. That's why most international foods don't have dairy products in them. Did you ever notice how Chinese or Thai or Japanese foods, they never have cheese or milk in them? Putting cheese on, say, orange chicken or in a sushi roll wouldn't be traditional Asian style at all, and it wouldn't be very good either, for the record. But I have tried and enjoyed shredded cheddar on, say, ramen noodles once in a while, but again, this isn't authentic at all. And on the flip side, many and most European style foods do have lots of dairy. Pizza has cheese on it, so do burgers. Pies and pastries have lots of cream. We also put milk and sugar in our coffee, so on and so forth. And these are all Euro-based foods and styles that have lots of milk, and they usually involve dairy in one way or another. So yeah, the point is, this stuff has been known about milk and in our food and diets around the world for a long while now. So I guess this is just news to the AJ Plus guy, and that's fine and dandy, no worries. And I also appreciate people who want to learn new things, but what I don't like is, and what I hate here is, this video turning to whites and calling us racist for no reason. And also, isn't it funny how the kid hosting the AJ Plus video, well, he looks up the stats for worldwide intake of dairy. They even noted it as being 65% of the world is lactose intolerant. Well, that's interesting considering the stats that I shared with you before. I wonder if AJ Plus is going to be honest and share a breakdown of milk intolerance by race or by regions or countries. And this is the true and honest background to this milk meme as well. But I doubt Al Jazeera will admit this, since their goal clearly is to shame white people here.
But these milk-chugging white supremacists seem to think that only white people can drink it, and that somehow that makes them superior. But that doesn't make sense, because my co-producer Tabish can digest milk.
You can't beat dairy ice cream.
And he's not even remotely white. So why do these white supremacists think they're so special?
Jesus Christ, dude. If this guy doesn't stop calling all people white supremacists, I think I'm gonna lose my shit here. At least show us someone doing something that's pro-white supremacist one time. Come on. You really think we're just gonna all take your word for it on this? Please. Just because you showed us pictures of white people drinking milk, that doesn't make them this thing you called them. And then there's the next lie here. In the whole title and basis of this video, the line, milk is only for white people. A line which this host Yara complains these people at the He Would Not Divide Us said or something, but we still have no proof or evidence of that in the slightest either. I guess they expect us to take their word on it again, but really, why should we? And what kind of reporting or journalism is this anyway? Al Jazeera is supposed to be a big Middle East news agency after all, and AJ Plus is supposed to be their hipster SJW video making wing, like some sort of BuzzFeed meets Vice meets Middle East. But despite all that, this Yara guy is just making shit up in his video, and he's putting words into people's mouths and misrepresenting facts and figures. What a goddamn joke. If you want us to buy into all this, guy, you really need to back up your premises here. We need to see proof that these people are what you say they are. And we need quotes of them saying the line that this video is based on, milk is only for whites, because so far we've seen none of this here. And if you ask me, I think you're stretching and possibly making all this up. Next, the AJ guy drinks some milk himself as some kind of dumb wannabe BuzzFeed experiment or something. He then films himself waiting to poop while sitting on a couch. I'm not kidding. This is part of the video. And then there's actual footage of him in the bathroom taking a shit. Really great journalism being done here at AJ Plus. And I think the video of him taking a poo is a metaphor actually. It's an analogy for how this project is going. Eventually though, after going through the history of humans drinking milk, for no good reason really, well, next Yara turns back to calling all white people white supremacists for some reason. Check this part out.
But that got me wondering about the clip from the white supremacists I showed all you earlier.
I don't know if you've seen the video of white supremacists in America chugging milk.
It's kind of reassuring to know that there is actually no end to their stupidity. Lactase resistance is very common in many African populations.
That's cool, but again, and I hate to defend these He Will Not Divide Us idiots too much, but they never said explicitly only whites can drink milk. Rather, they said, I can drink milk and you can't. Pretty close, admittedly, but I think it's a noteworthy distinction because it's clear AJ Plus is hell-bent on lying about everything and everyone here. That's why they had to turn their joke meme into an absolutist and and serious statement. Because if they admit this was all a joke, that's actually based on real numbers, by the way, well, attacking that isn't as big a deal. And also, if AJ says they are just 4chan trolls at the He Will Not Divide Us event, well, that's not as exciting or as big an enemy for them to tear down. You see, SJWs have a sort of hero complex where they want to be perceived as saving people in order to get public acknowledgments and virtue points. The problem is, though, that in current year, there's really no longer any big, terrible, horrible monsters out there to stop in the world anymore. There are no more Nazis, white supremacists, or KKK members, which are all dwindling into minuscule level numbers. So that's why SJWs like the ones at AJ Plus, they have to make up their own villains. And that's why they falsely label anyone white as a white supremacist, so they can look like a hero when they take them down. But since their arguments aren't serious or they are better thought out, well, AJ Plus then has to misrepresent people's stances too. They're basically misrepresenting everything here and being dishonest as hell in the process.
It's evolved more times in Africa than it has in Europe, and it's also common in many Middle Eastern populations, in Southern Asian populations as well.
So, just to reiterate, your skin color has nothing to do with whether you can digest milk.
Your skin color has absolutely nothing to do with whether you can digest milk.
Well, that's a funny way to phrase all this. Kind of putting the chicken before the egg here, though. You're strawmanning and putting words into people's mouths again, too. No one really said your skin color will affect the way you digest milk. Really, it's more likely that you can digest milk if you're white, American, or European. It's not because of the skin color, it's just a trait white people tend to have. Much like how you wouldn't say your skin color doesn't affect how good you are at basketball. But it is certainly true that more black people are good at it. And these two different ways to phrase this might sound pretty similar. And I might sound like I'm nitpicking here by being so strict on this phrasing, but AJ Plus is kind of making me do this. And they know what they're doing here when they say it like this too. They're trying to make these trolls at the He Will Not Divide Us event look more racist or something because they're white people. And it's also trying to make all whites look worse in the process. That's the end game of this video, make no mistake. And it's also the goal of AJ Plus's whole channel for that matter, pushing anti-white, anti-American propaganda while also feeding off of SJWs and invading our pop culture along the way.
So if people like me are in the majority, why do we feel like we have to hide or be ashamed of our lactose intolerance? I put a call out on Slack to see if there were any other lactose sufferers among us.
So my name is Ben.
My name is Sana. Jen, Sydney, Phoebe.
Tarek.
I've been lactose intolerant for like 12 years. 2 years, 10 years now.
I was that kid who would literally chug milk all the time.
How did you realize you were lactose intolerant?
I was trying to get sick.
Okay, time to relax, people. You can't drink milk. It's not the end of the world, though. There are plenty of other options and food choices out there, so I don't see why this AJ Plus guy feels the need to start a sort of support group for this kind of bullshit. I mean, they're all in the majority here, right? This shouldn't even be an issue for them, but it is, and I think I know why. Really, this all proves that their whole statistic of 65% and claiming they're in the majority here, well, it's all bullshit that doesn't make sense and isn't true. Sure, if you count the whole entire world's population, 65% don't do milk, but we don't live all over in the whole world. We live in cities that are part of certain countries. And in Western European influenced countries like America, milk is a big deal. And that 65% figure wouldn't apply here at all. In fact, according to this chart from Wikipedia, North America is only 15 to 30% lactose intolerant. And if this guy lived in Northern Europe or Britain, that percent would be 15 or below. So I think you guys get the point. AJ Plus took the world average and tried to apply it to just where they live and operate, which actually has a much lower regional average. And then they tried to pretend they were still in the majority there, when they're really not. And this is all proven by this little lactose intolerant self-help group they made, which wouldn't be necessary if they were in fact in the majority in their area. But really, they're not. And that's why they have trouble avoiding dairy products, and also, they resent the pro-dairy media and culture that surrounds them. In the end, we've seen another terrible take from AJ Plus, one where they possibly slandered and defamed a bunch of jokesters at the He Will Not Divide Us event. Now, I know I may be wrong here, and I'd be the first to admit it if evidence showed otherwise, but as far as what we've seen here today in the AJ video, well, they were unable to prove their claims against these guys at all. They said a bunch of people were a bunch of terrible things, but they never showed them doing those terrible things. And if you want to take their word on this, that's up to you, but I know I won't. AJ Plus has lied time and time again, and in my opinion, this video is no different. What do you guys think? Does drinking milk make you a racist white supremacist? Does anyone really claim that only whites can drink milk? Or was that a weak straw man AJ propped up in order to easily knock it down themselves later? Comment your thoughts on everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and we'll see y'all next time.